As a landscape photographer, the more you post your stuff, it's inevitable that people are going to start asking you if you can take their portraits. Family shots, headshots, that sort of thing. It's gonna happen. It happened to me, and for the longest time, I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not shooting people. But the more people who asked, I eventually started to take it on, and now I really love it. And it's an extra source of income, and I've learned a lot. And I'm always up for learning new things and personal growth. And portrait photography has been an incredible lesson in that. So here I just want to take you through some of my processing techniques that helps the client shine in the best light possible. This is out in front of a theater. She wanted the blurred background look on a photo like this, and I didn't have a long enough lens to make that happen. So I thought, okay, we're gonna do this in post. We'll blur out that background and make her stand out. So here's how we did that. So this is the regular raw unprocessed photograph. So the first thing that we're going to do is blur out that background, and the new features in Lightroom make this so incredibly easy. There's some fine tuning to do, but so incredibly easy. I just absolutely love this feature. I like to go down here, the new Lightroom. Make sure you have the latest version downloaded, but it has this lens blur feature. And watch what happens when you just click that apply button. Look what it does to the background. It just creates that nice blur, nice bokeh, and it's beautiful. And then you can adjust. You can say, I want it to blur out more, I want it to blur out less. So we can make adjustments as needed. What you want to watch for is the more you blur, sometimes it doesn't do a great job of blending around the person. In this case, it did. It even blurred correctly around the way her hair falls there. That's wonderful. That's great. So I think this is a nice look. You can also, if there is blurring, like if it were to grab her arm and blur out the arm, you can adjust here how much of it is blurred and how much isn't. So it's a really great feature. So something to consider as you're processing your photos, but in this case, it really did a fantastic job. I might go from there. I like to always do this, enable lens corrections and remove aberrations, just give the photo just a finished look. And we can also go into our white balance. And there's a couple ways to do this. We can select our little eyedropper and select a part of the photo that is meant to be white, like that, and that warms it up nicely. That worked out well. And finally, I'd go into masking, and I want to decrease the shadows on her a little bit, make her stand out just a little bit, and there's a couple ways to do that. We can either, Lightroom will scan and see if it can find people. In this case, it didn't identify her as a person. If she's facing the camera and there's a face, it usually will. In this case, it didn't. So there's still a couple ways we can do it. We can go in and select subject and see if it'll notice her and do that, or we can manually select her as an object. So let's do a subject select and see if Lightroom is able to select her as the subject. It did, but it also selected the sign. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to remove that mask. And let's add an object. And in that case, we have our little brush tool here, and all we do is brush around the person or item that we'd like to be selected as the object, and then let go, and then did a much better job. So now we have that person selected, and then we can go down and just bring up the shadows a little bit. And we can just fine tune, maybe bring up the exposure just a titch. That looks good. And then what I like to do is duplicate and invert that mask so we have the entire background selected that is not her, and bring the exposure on that down just a little bit, and that's going to make her stand out even more. So now look what happens when we do the before. That's with no masking, and that's with masking. No masking, masking. Huge difference. Subtle changes in our edits, but huge difference in how the photograph looks. So this photo, there's some things I would have done different here. I would have given her some more space above her head. I didn't leave a lot of breathing room up above there, so that's something that
I would have done differently. But this is a great example for how we can process a portrait shot in Lightroom. So this is the pure raw file, no changes to it just yet. So the first thing that I want to do is, I don't even think I'll change the white balance on this because it's looking good. I can go in there and see what some of the yeah, daylight might be nice. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it on as shot for now because that's just fine. It looks good. But I want to show some processing abilities that Lightroom can do, specifically in masking. So the new Lightroom version, and again, I am in the regular Lightroom. I'm not in Lightroom Classic. So these are all features available in regular Lightroom. But it has this people function where it will select the person and create a mask for you. But this is where it gets really cool. When we select person, watch this, it brings up options to also select certain parts of the person that we can edit individually. And I really like that because here we can like choose the white of her eye. So we'll check that. We can choose facial skin, create a mask on just the facial skin. So we're gonna create that one. And you can also do lips, teeth, hair. Obviously there's no teeth showing in this one. I'm not going to select just the hair. I could select just the lips, but I'm not going to in this case. And I could select everything that's not facial skin, body skin. Provides a ton of flexibility on how we can edit these photos. For now, I'm going to do it with just, and also go, oh, I can't do that. Okay, so I'm going to create an eye. I'm going to create a facial skin mask, and I think I'll just leave it at that. And then I can create those two masks. And then, like, this super simple stuff that really makes a nice difference is you can select that mask for the white of her eye, and then you can just bring up the whites just a little bit, just to give a little bit more vibrancy in that eye. And we can also, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we go back to the person because we can select iris and pupil too. So maybe we'll create one there. And then we can do the same thing. We can bring that exposure up just a little bit. Just give a little bit more life and vibrancy in there. Sometimes increasing the clarity is good. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Here on the facial skin, we can do a couple of things. I mean, we have all of our edit features available to us, but what I like to do, especially on people when we're doing a close-up here, is you can go down to the clarity and just bring down the clarity on the facial skin a little bit, and that will just help smooth out the look. And I love that we can do this type of smoothing in Lightroom without needing to move it into Photoshop. Look what it does. It's just a nice smooth look on her face, which I think is great for a portrait. I might even just leave it at that. I think even that just looks so much better. We can turn off all masks and turn it on. See the difference that it makes. There it is off, and there it is on. That's a really nice smooth look. Now from there, if we want to just continue our edit, we can select the person again and just select a mask of the entire person and create that one. So now we have the entire person selected, and then we can go down there and warm that up if we'd like. Maybe just like that. And then we can play with the shadows a little bit and see if we want to bring them up or pull them down. I like to pull them up just a little bit, just remove just a little bit of that shadow. And that looks really nice. And then we can do this little trick where we duplicate and invert the whole person mask. And so now everything that is not her is selected. And then we can go in and maybe bring down that exposure just to make her stand out just a little bit more. So then if we turn off all these masks, you can see the before and the after. pretty significant. I mean, the changes are so subtle on an individual level, but they really make a great difference in the entire photograph.
I hope that was helpful. That's just scratching the surface on what's possible in Lightroom as we're processing portrait photographs. There's so much more you can do. I hope that you'll subscribe to the channel so you'll see the future videos as we cover those. In the meantime, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.